Hey folks, Brian here. Today I'm putting my PC that was built upon a box and putting it in another box, specifically the Lian Li O11 Dynamic, affectionately called an Aquarium PC case by some. Today I'll show you what I did and hopefully give you some pro tips as well as some cons if you're planning to use this case. The first good thing is that the case is really easy to work on. You simply take off the top with the two thumb screws. Each intake comes with a dust filter, and you can then simply lift off the sides. Then I turned off the PC, waited for the fans to spin down, and then I started disconnecting all the cables from the power supply after I turned it off, of course. Next, I went back to the case and started prepping it. I took off the panel for the removable hard drive cages, found the goodie box there with a manual and all sorts of screws, and then I installed the power supply, just placing it in and putting the 4 screws. Then I returned back to the PC, took off the graphics card, the 2070 Super. After that, I started working on removing the AIO. I slowly unscrewed the AIO and then I started to clockwise and counterclockwise move the pump so as to not rip it out, as I was cautioned across various forums. At first it was a little bit tough to come off, but it eventually came off. When I initially installed the CPU, I just used the pre-applied thermal paste that was already on the AIO. I took it off and took a couple pictures. What do you think? Seemed okay. After I took everything off the motherboard, including the AIO, I started to put it into the case. It sits a little bit lower, so if you don't have an AIO at the top, a radiator, it might look a little empty up there. After the motherboard, I went back and tried to figure out where to put the SATA drives. I initially put 2 on that cable protector there, which turned out to be a completely unusable place. I did look at the 2 hard drive sleds, and those worked well. They have a lot of holes, but I could only put 1 SATA drive. The good news is, although I couldn't use the cable bar, I did put those SATA drives in the nooks and crannies of the 2 drive sleds. I actually fit 5 SATA solid-state 2.5-inch drives in there. It was a little cramped, but it worked. For the AIO, I initially tried to put it on the side. The case is famous for having glass on the side and glass on the front, and a unique side intake area where one can mount supposedly 360mm radiators, but there's a lot of cables for the front header panel that get in the way, and I just couldn't get the radiator in there. So I decided to move it to the top with a plan for the future to have 3 intake fans at the bottom to balance it out. After the AIO was in place, it was time to prep the CPU again. I cleaned it up with a cloth once again, both the AIO and the CPU. And this time I used Thermo Grizzly Cryo Knot. It was very thick and hard to apply. Later I found out that you have to warm it up in a warm bowl of water for like 15 minutes. Anyway, it was very hard the first time and I didn't get a good spread on it. I kind of wanted to try the P method, but this is just the way I've always done it. So with the included spatula, I sort of did something okay for the first time. But later I redid it using the warmed up Cryonaut and it was much smoother to apply. After that, it was a matter of putting the pump back on the CPU, using the 2 screws on the sides with their latches. I always find the latches hard to sort of stick on and hook around the mounting brackets, but once those are in place, I just tighten the screws and probably tighten too much. You know, I don't know when to stop on those. When do you stop? Anyway, that's all it took there, and it was pretty much good to go. Finally, the easiest step was to fit in the graphics card. There's plenty of space in the O11 Dynamic because it is an aquarium. There's really nothing inside to obstruct anything. Now it was finally time to press the power button and see if all that RGB unicorn barf worked. And sure enough, it did. One thing I didn't finish though was I had all the solid state drives hanging out in the back because I was planning to put 2 of them on the cable routing bar, but the plugs wouldn't fit. So I ordered 2 right angle adapters so that I could put the power and the SATA cables onto those drives before putting them on the bar. But that didn't end up working. I still didn't have enough room. So I ended up cramming the 2 drives in the back with the 2 other hard drive racks. And then finally I didn't put any on the cable routing bar, and I put it all back together. So this is how the case looked. It looked pretty good. Here's a picture of it in sleep mode. And from the side and the front, and all the cables were cleaned up on the other side. But still, I didn't like those power cables, so I got a cable extension kit, an all black one, to hide the wires. If you look a little closer, it looks a little bit neater. Last but not least, I've saved the best for the end, the epic peeling of the front and side panels. As for the case, I enjoyed building it in a lot. It was quite roomy. I didn't have problems fitting in any of the components. The front panel cabling did get in the way of mounting the radiator on the side. Maybe if I fooled around with those a bit and moved them aside, it would fit without any problems. But that seemed like a miscalculation for the case. Another thing was that cable routing bar. It's supposed to fit 2 SSDs on it, but your power and SATA cables are going to be hard to fit there. There's going to be a whole ton of cables in the back, so I find it hard to believe that it will work for most people with a lot of drives. But still, you can stuff a lot into that hard drive cage that they have in the back. And with all SSDs, it doesn't really matter for me. I don't have any spinning disks anymore. So overall, I'm glad I got the case over the Fractal Meshify S2, which came damaged for me. I think I like this aquarium look better than that front mesh. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. See you later. Bye.